Veronica Kirin from AsteriskDAO. They are on a super important mission when it comes to basic and translational science.
Thanks for being here, everyone. First of all, I know some of you had a really fun night last night, and so that you made it here this morning and in the morning is really fantastic, in my opinion. Yeah, exactly. Those of you who are just joining us, welcome. I'm not from Tallinn, so I can't welcome you to Tallinn on behalf of Tallinn, but also this is an incredible city, so welcome. I'm from Asterisk. I am the founding member, and we are addressing the massive data gap that exists in non-reproductive women's health, which I will explain. So first of all, just a little bit about me. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've been at it since 2010. I entered the entrepreneurial space the hardest way you could by founding a nonprofit organization. That lasted for 2 years. We did 4 projects and 2 fundraising galas. And so it was like a nice, general experience. Then I founded a tech company called Green Cup Digital. It still exists. I'm extremely proud of it because I exited in 2018. Managed to sell to a fellow female entrepreneur, which is unheard of in tech, as many of you know. So very happy with that outcome. I'm an anthropologist by trade. I've published 1 book in the anthropological space. I particularly study paradigm shifts, which is why I'm so keen on being in Web3, because we are in a paradigm shift, and so I love trying to translate the space into Web 2, Web 1, and just analog. So that fires me up. If you want to play with that, let's do it. But I started Asterisk because I have a personal experience as well with a female-specific disorder that is little studied and little understood, despite it affecting 12% of women, which is equivalent to how many women also have diabetes, which we all know very well because it's a sex-agnostic disorder. So that gives you a little bit of an understanding just right off the bat as to what's happening in women's non-reproductive health. That if it is female-specific, there's basically no research, no awareness, or no understanding. I've been told by doctors that I'm crazy, even though I have research documents showing this is a real thing. But we'll get into that. So first of all, what do I mean by non-reproductive health? So I've had some fun questions over the past 4 days. How long have we been at it since BananaCon started? I got to Tallinn on Friday last week. So since then, I've been trying to describe what's non-reproductive health. Because 500 years ago, Western health was founded based on the idea that women are just little men, thus do not need to be involved in clinical trials. I see many women grinning because they know this and it's painful. What this means is that we have a lot of missing data, and we also associate women's health with 2 parts of the body. It's called bikini medicine because that is the part of the body that a bikini covers. So when I say non-reproductive health, often people are very confused because we haven't thought about the female body as unique except for boobs and So that's what we're interested in with Asterisk. Our vision then is to see women's non-reproductive health impartially and fully supported worldwide, and this is why we love Web3. Because we can actually reach populations that have been traditionally left out of Western medicine. We're not interested in being white saviors. We are not interested in science for the global north. We are interested in all women's health. So, as I have said, women's health is currently poorly researched and poorly understood outside of 2 very specific areas. To that end, currently 88% of female-specific disorders in animal trials use male animals. This is crazy to me. 74% of sex-specific research is going towards male-specific disorders. It's good, I mean, we need the research, but we also need the research. And 80% of femtech startup funding is going towards reproductive health. Again, this is good and this is needed, but there is a whole body here, and it is affected by the modalities, the medicines, and the knowledge that we have in this space. So as I said, we've had this idea of bikini medicine. Obviously, this phrase was coined recently. The idea is fairly old, but we haven't had bikinis since what, like the 1920s, 1930s. So obviously the term is new, the idea stands, until 1993, when the United States led the way in legislating a mandate that women be involved in clinical trials. Just to clarify, in the 1970s and 1980s, women of reproductive age were actually banned from clinical studies because of a fear of a potential fetus, even if a woman was on birth control or abstention or anything, which also speaks to science's trust in a woman's ability to recognize that she's pregnant. So this leads to these types of problems. Who heard about the Ambien fiasco? Nobody. Okay, sweet. Yes. Okay, so this one does. So Ambien is a sleep drug. It came out in the late 90s. It was only tested on men. So women started going psychotic on it, which is really fun, because it turns out that the dosage for men is actually double what a woman's body can metabolize and process. So 20 years later, the FDA resolved and amended the dosage for Ambien for women. This is why we're called asterisk, because the dosage is X, asterisk, unless for a female. It's tongue-in-cheek. I'm spicy, can you tell? I'm inspired up about this. This is why I founded an organization around it. Women's time to diagnosis. Men, on average, get diagnosed for a disorder between 2 to 4 years from time to initial seeking of support. Women, 4 to 8 years. So we're looking at double the time frame in order to get a diagnosis. In some cases, it goes on and on and on. And this is a data problem, in my opinion, at least in our opinion here at Asterisk. If we have more knowledge and more information about what a woman's body is doing in reaction to environment or medication or anything else, like aging, then we have a higher likelihood of getting diagnosed sooner. And then misdiagnosis. It's quite rampant. Women in the room, have you ever been told by your doctor, I don't know, or you're crazy? Yeah, it's, yeah, it happens, and it happens a lot. And so even when I do show up with clinical trials to support my disorder, I'm told that it's not a thing. So misdiagnosis is too rampant. Again, we need more data. So this is a basic overview of what we're working on behind the scenes. We are public but still in stealth mode because our white paper comes out next month, wink wink. But this is what we're aiming towards. First of all, as I said, backfilling missing data. We're looking at data lake technology and zero knowledge computing in order to do this. I'll get to that. Resuscitate the dusty IP stuck behind the walls of universities. As we just heard, tech transfer is broken. And we have tons of data that is in existence that's just kind of sitting there because it's not desired. Maybe there's some commercial mechanisms that are in place to bring it out, et cetera, et cetera. So we really want to take a look at how we can deal with that. And eventually, we would love a vertical where we are funding our own member-voted research. For me, this means that women, for the first time, will be voting on their own healthcare. What an idea! So data lakes. We believe that if we can build disease-specific data lakes from women around the world, we can start to accelerate and backfill the data that we need in order to better understand female-specific disorders, but also female-biased disorders. For example, obsessive-compulsive disorder. It is a sex-agnostic disorder, yet it affects women 2 to 1 to men. Within some of the subsets of OCD, like body dysmorphic disorder, that is a condition related to OCD, and yet it affects women overwhelmingly, right? So we have these disorders that bias towards women heavily. Fibromyalgia is another one, autoimmune disorders, right? So yes, they are sex agnostic, but we want to get into that space too because there's something going on and the research is just too slow, the data is missing. And we also want to be BFFs with researchers because we are hopefully going to provide them not just data that they have been starving for, but also a more cost-effective way to get that data. So then, looking at text transfer, we're going to become BFFs with a whole lot of universities as well in order to make that happen. We have to, of course, grease the wheels for Web3. That's where I get to come in because I have to translate to universities what this industry is and why it is useful and important and exciting. Thank goodness there are some universities that have rolled out their own blockchain tracks, and so they have an idea that this is an important space, but when we get into traditional medicine, sometimes it's a little bit slower, which I know you all know for sure. We're really, really lucky that my co-founder has been in traditional medicine for over a decade and worked closely with Johns Hopkins University and the Gates Foundation, so we're hoping that we can unlock those doors faster in order to grease the wheels for tech transfer, and thus increase research. Because if we're able to demonstrate to universities that their dusty old women's non-reproductive health data is useful, they're going to fund more of it. And then, of course, funding our own research. This personally is my North Star, not for the fact that we want to fund our own research, but to me, if I can get women around the world on all 6 continents, yes, and we're going for it, to be voting on their own healthcare, on the future of the modalities that we are supporting. That is mind-blowing, and that's what we're so excited about Web3, that we can have public participation for the first time in industries that have typically been cloistered. So we'll get there. You can tell I'm feisty, so we'll get there. Who knows how fast. The market looks great for this. We have 20 billion feeding into women's healthcare by 2030. And in 2022, we had a 121% increase. The numbers aren't out for 2023 yet. We will get those very soon, hopefully by the time we put out our white paper. But so it's looking good. The money is there. I hate to have to go for a money pitch to say, this will make you money, thus do it. It should be more like, hey, your mothers and sisters and aunts and best friends would be healthier if you support this. Unfortunately, sometimes we have to show the money in order to get people to move their tushes. So where are we now? We are in the process of reviewing our white paper with researchers and experts. It is long, it is full of graphs and links and studies. You can tell I've spent a long time with it. So we are publishing our white paper and presenting it for the first time in public at BlockSplit next month. If you are coming, please make sure to check that out. There's a fantastic DeSci track at BlockSplit, so if you haven't been to BlockSplit and you haven't applied to speak, approach me afterwards. We need to get you there. The weather is also really nice in Croatia. And then we are also starting to develop our code repository in order to bring our first model to market. These are our 4 core contributors. We have a core team of 16 currently. So the funny thing is, I was just describing to some folks this morning over coffee that most of us had never met in person. I met Erin in person for the first time at DeSci London last month, which was really fun. Katie has been, again, in medtech for over a decade. Her previous startup had funded from Gates Foundation and USAID and Johns Hopkins. Lena is an incredible translator, just like me. She can take a brand identity and run with it, so she's heading up our comms team. We have other amazing people who are helping us to polish this white paper and get to market. But what we really need is legal counsel and developers who are excited to hack on this. And so if you know anybody who's fired up like I am about this space, we would love to talk to them. In the meantime, you can join us at the QR code or on our website, on our social media. I highly recommend hopping into the newsletter. We're publishing bi-weekly repositories of female-specific disorders. We just published one this week on female pain and how very weird that space is. We have one coming up on sleep in 2 weeks, so I highly recommend hopping into our newsletter. That's also where you'll get to see the fun announcement about the white paper. In the meantime, I'd love to field any questions, because I think I can go through that super fast. And yeah, I'm happy to connect with all of you. Thanks for being here again. Okay.
So what type of opportunities are in this industrial research? I feel like it's a low price, high outcome, and a good way to make a splash for this in the existing world.
Yeah, I agree. Because it's not like nothing has ever been done. It's that it hasn't been done enough. And so one of the points that was made just a moment ago, I think is a fantastic one, underscoring the fact that negative outcomes matter, as well as just what has been done, so that we're not over-replicating existing work. Like if we're going to fund our own research, we need to know what's out there already, even if it is 50 years old. It still matters. And I think that just having more exposure into either open source or just clarity as to like what's there will help existing researchers today do better work and then, again, accelerate grease the wheels into the future.
So you want to fund them or give them stake or bring them in?
So,
research?
As far as the tech transfer goes?
Right.
Yeah, so I'm being a little bit shady right now, partly because we're like about to publish our exact mechanism into the white paper. But yeah, we are working on a mechanism to make it really, really nice for universities to have this old tech transfer, have this old IP come out, kind of circumventing the existing tech transfer, boring, takes months or years offices, and get it to researchers and femtech startups. There's a problem also where startups are starved for data. They know that those conditions exist. They know that the research has been done, but they can't access it, either because of funding or because the tech transfer offices are taking too long. So we want to make a marriage, not just between researchers and institutions who might have access anyway, they might have enough funding power or leverage anyway to eventually get in there and find it, but it takes time, it's not efficient. But startups need it fast and now, just like we said before. We're moving faster than universities are in many cases, so that's the marriage we want to make. I hope that was enough information to satisfy your appetite.
I'll be on the email list.
Yeah.
There will be also instances when you don't have to go for the TTO, but just like really brute force all the labs around the world. Did you have some experiments on female mice and all these, you know, like basically just like data somewhere slipping on the hard drive, okay, that we did this and these experiments on female mice. So do you have an approach to like also that? Because you can, nothing is, as mentioned, nothing is published, you can't really parse it or scrape it with script. So do you have also an approach to really like offline old school method, just like do a lot of surveys and emails to PIs that please, if you had like in the past made some, you know, animal experiments with female rodents, then what were the results? And all this, because there, I know, like just personal experience, especially in neuroscience, so much that you got like papers you had to pull out or resubmit to do it with only one gender, so they decided to do it with male mice, male rat, because it was easier, but they already did the experiments with female mice, that it's like standing somewhere and maybe in some notebook.
So just to reiterate, because the way that the speakers are facing this direction, it was a little bit hard for me to understand. But is your question that are we going to reach out to researchers and institutions to ask them for perhaps what they have tried, even if it's the negative results we didn't publish?
Right, basically, where do you get like offline all these scientific results? Because if there's plenty out there that is like really unpublished, hard to scrape, and how do you deal with all the offline approach?
Okay, yeah, I understand. Yeah, I love that question actually. And so that would definitely come into the space where our second model, we're trying to address the tech transfer problem. But you're right, if it's not a published paper, then how do we get the IP into a Web3 space, and how do we then curate it? So that would be, in my opinion, I say my opinion because it's always leave it for the developer to do. I know where I should stay out of the way. I'm not going to do development work, but so our database designer would then be able to take that and say, okay, how are we going to implement it into the blockchain and have aggregate data that is initially analog or not published, so that it becomes useful and able to apply in the space. So yes, early days though, early days on that. Thanks.